What's up, WSSU Ram Nation? Bear season is over, and I am happy to announce that we went 2-0. We bagged those Bears from Raleigh, and then last week we bagged those Blue Bears, even though their mascot's black, from Salisbury. And now we've got the Golden Cows from Beatties Ford Road coming into town on Saturday. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about some of the things that happened over in Salisbury that contributed to the win, and some of the things that, that we need to make note of. So we will do that on the other side of this intro. What's up, WSSU Ram Nation? It's SJG back again for another video. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 500 by November 2nd, my birthday. At the time of this recording, we're at 350. Would love to get to that by the end of this week would be great, but November 2nd is the date that we set for that, so let's make it happen. Beyond that, though, please make sure that you guys are supporting the channel by subscribing and also checking out those Amazon affiliate links that we post on every video. Now, you know, Saturday's game against Joshua C. Smith is the pink game. As I'm dropping this on Tuesday morning, you might be able to get it in time for the game, but if not, still pick up some other merch on there. All right. Anyway, what we're here to talk about today is Saturday's game. Now, coming into Saturday, we were 5-2, looking to stay in the race for the CIAA championship game. But to do that, we needed to beat Livingstone College. Now, again, back in the day, that was no problem. But you know what? Things have changed. Livingstone is actually having a solid season. They came in 5-2, 2-1 as well. I told you at the beginning of last week that their 5-2 was not our 5-2. And I think that was proven on the field, on the turf in Salisbury. First off, definitely got to shout out the alumni and the supporters for WSSU that showed up and showed out in large numbers over in Salisbury. Now, they listed the attendance as 2,000 over at Alumni Memorial Stadium. If that's the case, then probably about 1,500 to 1,600 of those 2,000 were WSSU. I mean, it was a whole lot of red from the time we got down there until the game was over. And so I was really excited and happy. Obviously, you know, those folks over in East Greensboro were having their homecoming, and a lot of our folks were over there with them as well. I get it. It's a thing. But, you know, I was a little worried whether or not we would have the crowd support, but we pretty much filled up the visitor side, and, the folks over in Salisbury took note. So, hopefully we can do the same thing this coming week. I know those folks over in Durham, they wear that maroon. I hate maroon. Hey. They have their homecoming, and I know a lot of people are going to be going over there, but hopefully we can get a lot of butts in the seats in Bowman Gray, as it is a TV game. But we'll get to that later. All right, so let's talk about Saturday. So Saturday, WSSU emerged with a 31-17 victory, and it was pretty solid start to finish. So let's get a couple takeaways from that game and go from there. So it was a balanced offensive performance. We had 182 passing yards and 129 rushing yards. The majority of the rushing was Trevon Hester. He's been our stable back all year. Once again, close to 90 yards and a touchdown. He kind of carried the load for us there. And so some of those other rushing yards were by Dalen Lee, Jaquan Stafford, who we'll talk about in a little bit later in the special teams category. He definitely did his thing as well. So solid day on the ground. Passing wise, Dalen Lee did pass for a touchdown, 182 yards. But again, I think just like with some of the other games that you look at, man, he probably easily had 250, 275, if not for some drops. We've seen this happen before. We saw it against Bowie State and a couple other games as well. Those wide receivers, man, they gotta come down with some of those balls, wide open catches for their guy to make his numbers look a little bit better. He also, we'll be honest, his decision making at certain times, he kind of forced the ball in a little bit, and he ended up throwing 2 interceptions. So not the greatest day statistically passing, but he was efficient. He made the throws when he needed to, and also got the rushing touchdown as well. And then I will talk about our defense. The defense came up big once again. Livingstone is not a great offensive team. They came in averaging, I believe they were averaging like 20, 21 points a game. And we held them to 17. They got 7 on their final drive pretty much as the game was coming to an end. And the game had already pretty much been decided. But just a really solid day. They had, I think, 3 sacks. They had 3 interceptions, including a pick 6 by Dante Bolding that really kind of gave WSSU the driver's seat on Saturday. So a big-time performance by the defense. They held Livingstone to just 64 yards rushing overall, and they ran the ball more than 30 times. So I believe less than 2 yards a carry, which is pretty good, no matter who you're playing against. And then, again, there's 3 phases of a football team. There's offense and defense, but there's also special teams. And our special teams were very solid on Saturday for the most part. We got a kick field goal. We went 1 out of 2. But more importantly, well, I'm not going to say more importantly because we needed those 3 points. But we did get a big lift in the punt return game from Jaquan Stafford. He really kind of got the game going for us after we deferred and held Livingstone on drive number 1. He had an 83-yard punt return and nearly took it to the house before they damn near decapitated my man. But got us right on the doorstep for the first drive, and we were able to punch it in with the Hester run. So he had another one that actually went into the end zone as well, but he was actually called back because of a questionable holding call. But, it is what it is. At that point, they were already pretty much in control. So a great showing by him. He showed us last year that he has the moves like Jagger and all that good stuff. So not surprised to see him do it. It's never a better time than this time of the year to really get cooking like that. And again, there are 3 aspects of a football game, and WSSU was at least proficient on offense. They were really good on defense, and they were outstanding on special teams. So that is a recipe for success, especially when you talk about those turnovers, the 3 interceptions that they got, really huge, including a pick 6. So one of the things, too, I will say I've harped on, and I know a lot of other people have harped on as well, is WSSU in the red zone, right? Earlier in the year, they would get in the red zone, and they were scoring on a solid percentage of them, but there would be as many field goals as touchdowns. Well, this time WSSU was 3 for 3 in the red zone. They did come away with 2 touchdowns and 1 field goal. So improvement there. They did go for it, I believe, on that last drive on 4th down, maybe once or twice. And so I felt that was good. They gave the offense confidence that they can pick up the yardage needed, and they did. So I think that's a positive sign moving forward. And I will also talk about, because I'll say it, I talked about in the video leading into the game how penalties would be something that WSSU would have to guard against. Coach Massey said that the game was going to be chippy, and there were definitely moments of that, but I feel like for the most part, WSSU held their composure. There was 1 personal foul penalty. You hate to get those, but it was 1, and at the end of the day, it did not hurt them. I think they might have gotten the field goal on that one, so maybe it did result in some points. But overall, solid performance. Again, like I said before the game, their 5-2 was not our 5-2, and I think that we proved that. Just a really good performance all around. And again, it could have been worse. You think about, some drop touchdown passes pretty much. And in that late score, it could have been worse, like a lot of our games. But I think even though the offense, kind of had those drops, they were still able to bounce back. And I think this team is really starting to click and really have a lot of confidence in what it can do offense, defensively, and special teams, and as a unit. And I think that's really huge. So a big win for WSSU on the road on Saturday. That is the last road game for the regular season. And if WSSU runs out, of course, they'll be going back on the road again to play in Salem, Virginia. But